North Island, Powell River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for his speech. And I just want to say, in the work that we're doing on committee, where we're doing the pre-study to this piece of legislation, that numerous witnesses have made it very clear that they do not feel that they were part of a co-development process. They may have been included in some discussions, but lots of those were done very last minute, very quickly. The top three issues that we're hearing from folks in the committee is a discussion around jurisdiction, around accountability, and around funding. And they've been very clear, all the witnesses, and I happen to agree with them, that this is not a question around funding of an amount, a dollar amount, but making sure that within the legislation there's actual principles of what that funding would look like. This is so key, because what we are hearing from witnesses is if this is not part of the legislation, it will be considered a hollow piece of legislation. And I do hope and I do believe that in this House that we do care enough about Indigenous children that we don't want that to be a hollow piece of legislation. So I'm asking the member through you, Mr. Speaker, if we could see some of that language be put into it. We've had recommendations that the Human Rights Tribunal, the principles that are in there around funding be placed into that. Even some of this information about those principles in the preamble be put into the legislation. We need to see that action taken. Unless there's actual principles, not dollars, but principles about funding in the legislation, it will become a hollow bill. And I think it will be a deep shame to this Parliament if that happens.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, in 30 seconds or less, please.
So I thank the member for Powell River for contributions today on this important issue. In terms of jurisdiction, accountability and funding, those are extremely important points. We look forward to the work of the committee to bring forward suggestions and proposed amendments to this very bill. What I would say on the jurisdiction piece is specifically, Mr. Speaker, in 15 seconds or less, that when we say that in the event of a conflict between Indigenous jurisdiction or Indigenous authority and provincial or territorial authority, the Indigenous authority will trump or be paramount. That is establishing exactly the kind of jurisdiction that needs to be asserted here, and that's an important aspect of this bill. Thank you.
Resuming